You know, have you ever stood on a beach and just watched the ocean tide roll in? It's pretty wild when you think about it. Millions of gallons of water are being pulled back and forth by the invisible gravitational force of the moon. It's a really profound thought. Now, imagine for a second if that exact same lunar force was pulling on the unseen currents of your own mind. Well, welcome to this explainer. Today, we are diving deep into the ancient science of Jyotish, or Vedic astrology, to decode something absolutely fascinating, the Chandra Kundali, basically the moon chart. Because just as the moon dictates the tides, these ancient texts argue that it dictates the very operating system of your mind, your karma, and ultimately, your life's entire trajectory. Here is a quick roadmap for this explainer. We're going to cover 1. The concept of the cosmic tide. 2. The scriptural foundation. 3. The astronomical math behind it all. 4. Chart construction. And 5. The horoscope impact. Let's dive right in.
Starting off with Section 1, Concept, the cosmic tide.
Okay, so to really grasp this, we have to look at a pretty major distinction made in the ancient texts. In astrological studies, your ascendant, which is known as the lagna, represents your physical self. You can think of it as the actual physical body you occupy right now in this lifetime. But the moon, the Chandra, is an entirely different story. It represents your mind and all of your accumulated past karma. Basically, if your physical body is the hardware, your moon chart is the software running the whole machine. It processes your emotions, your sudden reactions, and your entire psychological framework.
Moving on to Section 2, Scriptural Foundation.
Saj Parashara's texts actually lay this out perfectly. They explicitly state, the moon is given a significant status equal to the ascendant, for she rules one's mind. The original Sanskrit phrase, buddhi kar manusari, essentially tells us that the mind follows the path of our past actions, or, put simply in Hindi, मनुष्य की बुद्धि उसके पिछले कर्मों के अनुसार ही काम करती है, और चंद्रमा इसी कर्म और मन का स्वामी है. So, the moon isn't just some rock floating in the sky. In this system, it is literally the cosmic record keeper of your karmic ledger.
Which brings us to Section 3, Astronomical and Mathematical Calculations.
Now, building a Chandra Kundali isn't just guesswork. It requires some seriously precise math. To calculate the exact time of conception, known as the adhana, the texts lay out a strict mathematical base. The formula starts with a baseline of 273.2 days. Why that specific number? Because that's exactly the time it takes the moon to complete 10 full revolutions around the 360-degree zodiac. From there, astrologers have to meticulously check if the moon was waning or waxing and whether it was positioned in the visible or invisible half of the sky.
Right, so here is where it gets really technical. Getting the coordinates right is absolutely crucial, and the sources explicitly mandate the use of Lahiri's Ayanamsa. You see, the Earth actually wobbles on its axis over thousands of years, meaning the backdrop of the stars is slowly shifting. The Ayanamsa is this incredibly precise astronomical angular distance used to correct the moon's exact longitude to account for that wobble. And the source texts issue a very strict warning here. Using a simple angular distance without the proper Ayanamsa just won't work. Even a slight miscalculation in the moon's position will take the entire chart, and I quote, far away from the truth.
Let's look at Section 4, Chart Construction via Diagrams.
So, how do we actually visualize all this math? Well, imagine taking the continuous 360-degree wheel of the cosmos, the actual signs of the zodiac as they appear up in the sky, and mathematically flattening it out. What you get is that classic, structured, diamond-shaped grid you've probably seen used by Indian astrologers. Every single diamond or triangle in that geometric grid represents a specific house or bhava.
But before we just drop the moon into this chart, we kind of need to know what these different houses actually do, right? The texts define very specific indications for each one. For instance, Thano is the first house, and that governs your physical physique. Then you have Dana, the second house, representing wealth and speech. Sahaja governs your siblings. And Karma, which is usually the 10th house, dictates your actions and your livelihood. Basically, wherever the moon lands in these houses defines exactly where your mental and karmic energy is going to be intensely focused.
Let's actually look at a real populated Kundali directly from our source material. In this specific chart, the abbreviation for the moon is sitting right there in house number 8, which represents the sign of Scorpio. Now, according to the mathematical tables in the text, when the moon hits Scorpio, it enters a state called Nicha, which means debilitated. So for this individual, the cosmic tide is uniquely challenged, and that is going to deeply influence the predictions an astrologer makes about this person's mind and their life path.
Finally, we have Section 5, Horoscope Contribution and Results.
So, what does this all mean for a real person? The sources outline some highly specific planetary combinations. For example, if the calculations place the moon and the sun in the exact same house, the texts tell us the individual will be highly skilled at getting things done, but also pretty much entirely subservient to their spouse. But these combinations can also point to severe physical challenges. If the moon is placed in the first house, the Lagna, alongside the shadow planet Rahu and the planet Saturn, the texts actually predict a severe vulnerability to physical diseases, specifically skin conditions or even leprosy. It's fascinating how the astronomy directly informs the medical and psychological forecast.
But you know, it's not just about what house the moon is in. The exact phase of the moon matters just as much. The lunar day of your birth is called your tithi. If you were born on a Purnima, a full moon, the texts predict a wealthy, highly intelligent individual with a radiant physique. Born on Dwadashi, the 12th lunar day, you're programmed to be virtuous and pious. But check this out. If you slip just one day later to Treyodashi, the 13th day, that karmic blueprint completely shifts to someone who is highly ambitious but deeply prone to greed. It's wild how the exact hour of the cosmic clock changes the whole shebang.
So we've traveled all the way from the ocean's tides to the deep scriptural philosophy of sage Parashara, through the really intense math of Lahiri's Ayanamsa, straight down to the exact geometrical plotting of your own karma. It's just this incredibly intricate system designed to map the unseen forces of human existence, which really leaves us with one final mind-bending thought. If the mathematical precision of the moon is powerful enough to physically move the Earth's oceans every single day, in what direction is it taking your life in your own Kundali? Thank you so much for joining me on this explainer, and keep exploring the blueprint.